gentlemen.
Hello.
Hey there.
Do you notice how soothing and complex that music is leading into this?
Well, yes, I did. That's why I chose it.
Sung by a choir in the back of some big stone church. It's reverberating off. There's no super fun rock band stuff here. It's just peaceful and reflective, and it soothes my soul.
It does to me too. I actually listen to this song while I'm working sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a classical nerd. I especially like the sung classical music. So it's not just the symphony, but actually the choir or chorus that's attendant with the music as well. And also a bit of a rock metal nerd that tends to follow kind of classical music. So a fun thing you could do, you go to like music editing software to get these classical music and change the instrumentation up, and it sounds pretty cool. So you can make it sound like a metal rock band with little like violins and stuff in the background. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, the music is complex and it's deep. Has a lot of meanings, different things going on. It's not just superficial on the surface, motivating emotions. So, doesn't that kind of reflect what we do here? We go deeper than the superficial. And Nick is leading our discussion tonight. And when Nick is leading, you know damn well it's not going to be superficial.
Not tonight. You guys should see the notes he's got.
They're incomplete, I think, but
Dude, there's 4 pages of them.
I got so many slides and notes, and it's a very complex subject, and I like to be very tedious and try to cover all my bases, although I'm just a finite creature with a finite amount of time.
So what I heard is we might have to cut you off before this stream turns into a hostage situation for our viewers tonight.
No, I selected short quotes and short clips, and I'm trying to add levity to the situation, but while making the point with that levity. So y'all appreciate that. So the topic is epistemology. That's like the philosophical category of knowledge, logic, and why it matters, or just epistemology and logic. And we're going to get towards the end, try to apply it to. We'll kind of do it throughout, but at the end, I'll bring kind of to a closed focus why it is so necessary for us to understand knowledge and logic, and even the means of spreading knowledge. I'll attempt that as well, which is kind of it'll be a little tongue-in-cheek because sometimes the medium becomes a message, and I don't think streams are the best medium, but it could be worse, like advertisements, ads, television. So streams are a little bit better than television, my understanding, but they could also be worse. But anyways, I'm getting off topic and straying down roads that haven't gone to. Let's start off with something. I hope our audience has seen this movie. This label comes from this movie called Idiocracy. Rondo, the thirst mutilator. It's got electrolytes. So I don't know how many hundreds of years. I forgot how many hundreds of years down the road where the movie was. I think, like the 90s or something, or early 2000s. Anyways, the guy goes in a cryogenic freeze or whatever, and he wakes up in this dystopian idiot society where everything's gone to shit. And he's a man of average intelligence, and he's the smartest man in the world. And at some point in the movie, he gets hired on to fix a problem. The plants aren't growing. So the main character is Private Joe Bowers. He says, for the last time, I'm pretty sure what's killing the crops is this Brondo stuff. But Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes. So wait a minute. What you're saying is you want us to put water on the crops? Yes. Water, like out of the toilet? Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be out of the toilet, but yeah, that's the idea. Secretary of State says, but Brondo's got what plants crave. The other guy says, it's got electrolytes. And the main character says, okay, look, the plants aren't growing. So I'm pretty sure that Brondo's not working. Now, I'm no botanist, but I do know that if you put water on plants, they grow. Well, I've never seen no plants grow out of no toilet. Hey, that's good. You sure you ain't the smartest guy in the world?
By the way, it's
Okay, yeah.
500 years, and my
Okay.
opinion of that was they were always wildly optimistic as to how long it would take to reach that level.
Huxley was right. Orwell, maybe to some extent, but I think Huxley was right in The Brave New World. A bunch of idiots led away by entertainment dampens down the moral and ethical fabric and epistemological fabric of society, where, of course, this is not purely a deductive argument, but it's based on induction, obvious induction over time. Yes, these plants have light. Yes, they're soil, but they're watering them with Brondo. At least something will grow with sunlight, proper soil, and water. Well, the key ingredient missing is water. And they're saying, well, water out of a toilet. Well, actually, water out of a toilet, you
It's got the shit plants need.
Yes, the shit.
Quite literally.
Okay. So I'll remove that from the thing. I'll just add this so everybody can have some shits and giggles. So you also hear in society things like everything's subjective. You might hear things such as there is no such thing as objective knowledge. Or you need to wake up from rationality and logic. Or I deny objective logic and so do some Eastern shit. Or some Eastern religion, they're Krishnas or whatever the hell it is.
My truth is just as good as your truth.
Well, so
Not being so Western.
Well, what Steve said is an operationalization of what Nick is talking about. So Nick's talking, truth is subjective, truth is this. Those are assertions. My truth is just as good as your truth, or to quote Adam Savage, I reject your reality and substitute my own. These are operational statements of not just a declarative, but they're saying this is how I actually think. This is their epistemology, and we're going to get into what that means. But what Steve said is, and you hear it out of women all the time. Now, there's a fun little fact that I'm sure we'll get into later in the stream, but if your epistemology is that everything is subjective, well, you're going to have a fun time when the objective realities of the world come crashing down on you. Because your epistemology is itself subjective and therefore subject to change and interpretation. Women cannot have a solid philosophical ground to argue on, which is why they crash out of debates all the time.
Well, I don't know where this quote
Reels before reels
comes from.
I'll bring that up again.
Cliff High. He's kind of a flaky guy, but really intelligent. Maybe some of you have heard of him. But anyway, he this is where I learned it. You can ignore reality all you want, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality.
Plants ain't gonna grow on Brondo, guys. It's got electrolytes.
That's the reality.
Well, and there's an interesting theme here of, yes, okay, the marketing and the propaganda was plants crave Brondo. It's got what plants need. Okay. But that's not true. And so there was an epistemology in this movie of, well, Brondo has what plants crave. Right. But it just because you have an epistemology does not mean that you have access to the truth.
True. And truth in an objective sense, and the foundations of epistemology, which I'll get into later, and why they all the theories that they try to prove while conveniently trying to eschew theology from it, or God, right? I'll say that. They end up collapsing upon themselves, and we'll get to that later, because they have no basis of an objective reality or objective universal laws of logic. And that's part of how the different foundations of logic come about, and we'll attack those. Okay, so I'll get to some definitions. So, we've talked about epistemology. Again, epistemology is theory of knowledge, answering questions such as, what is knowledge? What, if anything, can we know? What is the difference between opinion and knowledge? And that comes from looking at philosophy, The Unbearable Heaviness of Philosophy Made Lighter by Donald Palmer. Also, there's another two branches of philosophy. There's usually three. I mentioned this a few times. There's basically value theory and ethics. They're usually combined together. There's metaphysics and epistemology. Well, metaphysics is like the branch of philosophy studying the basic structure of existence or reality. Value theory and ethics is the branch of philosophy that deals with value and goodness, right and wrong. So those are the three main categories of philosophy. And we're particularly talking about epistemology, yet when you talk about one, the other two are always included. You can't talk about one without the other two being included. Now, we're also talking about epistemology and logic. Now, what is logic? Donald Palmer in that same book says logic, the branch of philosophy that studies the structure of valid inference, a purely formal discipline interested in. So it can also be a purely formal discipline interested in the structure of argumentation rather than its content. And that's actually a distinction between informal logic and formal logic. So we'll get to epistemology now.
Hey, Nick, I got a question.
Sure.
This seems like a lot of talk and big words. All I want to know is, what is the meaning of life?
To
Do I have
glorify
to
God
use
and
this
enjoy Him forever.
epistemology to understand that? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of life? What should I do? Do I have to use this
Steve,
epistemology stuff?
I have an answer for you.
Oh, okay.
What is the meaning of life? Boats and hoes, baby.
Well, that's some of the stuff in some red pill stuff that we're trying to push back against. It's not all, and if you press these guys on it, they probably wouldn't say that's what they're doing or what their purpose is, but kind of tongue in cheek. But yeah, boats knows. But no, actually, the Westminster Shorter Catechism, the very first question says, what is the chief end of man? It's man's chief end is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. Okay, you disagree with me, fine. We can deal with that later.
But maybe we should understand why they said that. Ooh, that would be going into metaphysics. The level of argument beyond what's at the surface, or the question, why did they say that? What are they striving after? What are they trying to understand? Now, he would be a fool to say, well, I don't think God exists. Therefore, this whole thing is folly. I don't even have to go here. Well, that's going to lead you down the path to, oh, boats and hoes.
Man does what is right in his own eyes. If there is no God and there's no one to be accountable, who actually really cares? And why do you even care about boats and hoes except for your flesh wants that, I guess, right? What a shitty purpose to go after is boats and hoes, but yeah. Okay. So, John, so we're talking about metaphysics, epistemology, and value theory, which value theory people usually use that interchangeably with ethics. They're related. There's a distinction, but I'm not going to get into that here. I'll present this so everybody can see the definition that I got. Got this from Dr. John Frame. Took a class from him. He's got a book called A History of Western Philosophy and Theology, and he says, my general conclusion is that metaphysics, epistemology, and value theory are not independent of one another. Rather, they presuppose one another and influence one another. So your view of epistemology, it also depends on what is and what is the good. Your good also flows on what is. How are you designed? Is there essences? Is there a value of knowledge? Is knowledge good or bad? Is truth good or bad? And should you pursue truth? Okay, it's an ethical statement. And you perform that in a certain reality, metaphysics. Okay. Yeah, okay. Another definition from Frame is epistemology is theory of knowledge. It asks, what is knowledge? How is knowledge possible? How should we go about knowing? How do we distinguish truth from falsity, reality from appearance? So notice how epistemology itself, it addresses not only how knowledge possible, foundations, how do we go about knowing, which could include like observation and logic. How do we distinguish truth from falsity, reality from appearance? Okay, that reality from appearance, that also deals with metaphysics. Okay, how do we distinguish truth from falsity? Okay, that's your ethics, right? Good and bad, right? Is there a good way of knowing? Is there a bad way of knowing? It presupposes an ethic. Okay. It's interesting though. How do we come about knowledge? And I'll go back. This is about 500 years ago. It was by one of the reformers, John Calvin. Yeah, I follow Reformed theology. I like John Calvin. You can consider me a Calvinist. That's fine. He writes in his very first book, chapter and paragraph. So the very first chapter, book, and paragraph of his Institutes, John Calvin writes in the book called Institutes of the Christian Religion, our wisdom, insofar as it ought to be deemed true and solid wisdom, consists almost entirely of two parts, the knowledge of God and of ourselves. He continues saying, but as these are connected together by many ties, it is not easy to determine which of the two precedes and gives birth to the other. So here you see knowledge and how it interrelates with metaphysics on a higher level and on a lower level. So ourselves in this reality which God created. So
Well,
knowledge is
this
not.
just brings to mind some basic words. God creates, man procreates. Yeah. Doesn't the Bible say we are made in the likeness and image of God? God creates. We have some reflection of that in our ability to procreate.
Repeat what you said. I was looking at something in the chat.
Oh, we are made in the likeness of image of God. So God creates and man procreates, which is kind of a faint aspect of the nature of God, but it exists within us. So these are connected.
Right. We're image bearers, so we reflect God as creator, though we are not the originator. We do
Correct. Yeah.
things correct, right? Absolutely correct, Steve. So there's a limitation to who we are as creatures. That might tie into our depths of knowledge itself,
Well,
but also
Nick,
of the world that's created.
didn't we do a stream where we used science to demonstrate that the empirical is inherently insufficient? Like no matter how much testing you do, you can never test enough. No matter how much
Yes.
observation you do, you can never observe enough.
Yes, absolutely correct. And I want you to save that thought when I address empiricism.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
Absolutely correct. You're jumping ahead of the game, but absolutely correct.